Okay, because I have nothing better to do and I have an extremely long layover, I am going to film for you the Beijing Airport, starting with the windows. You see that haze outside? That's just unfathomable. This city's got close to 20 million people. It's very well developed, but you can't tell by looking at it because there's so much haze obstructing the view outside. That's from all the coal plants. It looks like an overcast day, but that's all the smog. That's just unreal. I could barely see the control tower over there. So that there is, I guess, Air China. I can't read Chinese, but I came here from Houston and I am transferring on another flight to Saigon. Wow, they got Tom Brady here. Isn't that something? Well, opening soon anyway. As you're gonna find out soon enough, the airport here is like a shopping mall. They gotta rake in the big bucks somehow. Damiani. I like that gazebo they have there in the middle. Very alluring and aesthetic indeed. Earlier, I took a video of a mini hotel room that I rented because I was exhausted from that 14-hour flight and didn't get any sleep, and I took a nap. So, yes, they have sleep lounges in this airport too. They are a bit costly though, that's the downside. They cost about $20 an hour. You could rent them all day long for about, let's see, about $120. That's still pretty damn costly. But then again, what isn't expensive at the airport? That exchange over there is where I exchanged my US dollars. They didn't have entirely Vietnamese dongs, so whatever cash I had left I got for Chinese yuan. I needed the Vietnamese dongs though because my flight in Saigon tonight arrives after midnight, and I don't think the exchange will be open there. So, Air China, that was the airline I flew. God, look at that haze. I heard it's even worse during the wintertime from all the coal-fired plants. It's kind of hard to keep 1 billion people warm. And speaking of which, it is a bit toasty in this airport. It's rather stuffy because the air conditioning here isn't very strong. It's not like living in Houston where air conditioning is a very lucrative business. My hometown is actually the most air-conditioned city on earth. In fact, Nolan Ryan, after he retired, co-owned some air conditioning business. I can't even see it across the runway over there. But that explains why in a lot of pictures I see of China, you see people wearing hospital masks. One place I applied for a job was in Tianjin, right down the road from Beijing. It's a very industrial city. It has a smog index of over 160. It wouldn't do my respiratory system any favors, especially when I get allergies in the wintertime. And who knows? Asthma rates must be through the charts here. It's never been confirmed that mercury causes autism. In fact, that's been debunked. However, it is a known fact that burning coal does cause asthma. The rates are staggering around coal-fired plants. So, that alone should be enough of an emergency to switch from fossil fuel to green energy, because if more people get asthma and they can't afford health care, then there's going to be myriad problems. That's why they need to have universal health care. I might get one of those panda bears. I did keep myself occupied on the flight over here, though. I actually watched 3 movies on the flight. I watched Batman vs. Superman, I watched Argo, and I watched Total Recall. They had all those on there. I love that movie, Argo. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. And flying on an airplane, spoiler alert, flying on an airplane makes it that much more suspenseful towards the end. Especially when you're on an international flight. It's pretty cool how they spell Dubai there in that font. don't know why, but just for some reason, whenever I see a white person here or a black person, I always wonder where they're from. I'm curious by nature. I mean, obviously, they're not Chinese, so Westerners always prompt my interest in places exotic like this. Yes, this is one ginormous airport. And this is only in one terminal. I'm in Terminal E because I'm restricted to this area. Wow. Look at those panels. Oh, they have a tram. There's the transit again. No, I don't think those massage places are the ones that have happy endings. You're sure as hell not going to find that at an airport. It's probably more the medieval kind, like the actual Thai massages. It certainly wouldn't be done someplace so conspicuous like this either. Yep. This is a big ass airport. I don't know if I've ever been to one this large in my entire life. And like I said, I'm in Terminal E. This is just one terminal. There's got to be at least 5 of these. Still in awe over all that haze out there. And to make a long story short, I was actually supposed to be in Saigon by now, but there was a major setback. My visa wasn't processed in time. And then, in addition to that, the folks at Singapore Airlines wouldn't let me on the plane because of that. They gave me a hard time. Gave us a hard time. I almost had a meltdown at the airport in Houston. And so, as a backup plan, my ever generous mother, who I owe the world to, got me another ticket, Air China, flying through Beijing instead of through Singapore and through Moscow on the way to Saigon. It actually worked out in my favor because for some reason I prefer flying west. The earth turns east whenever I fly west. It makes me feel more reassured and better able to fight the jet lag. Certainly makes it easier to adjust to the time zone differences. And it makes me feel like I'm going back in time. See, I've already flown around the entire world going east, which means I lost a day of my life. One day I'd like to fly around the world going west, earning a day back in my life, doing it more than once. Buying myself some time. No pun intended. Wow. Can you believe that? Wow. Fewer things would thrill me more than to see the entire world switch to green energy. That would probably solve at least half the socioeconomic problems in the world. If everybody used green energy, the 1% wouldn't have control of all the resources. That would rid our dependency on foreign oil. Not to mention, there would be less finances going to terrorist groups overseas. A lot of the oil money does go to terrorist groups. If we all had cars that run off algae or whatever, we wouldn't need to import oil from the Middle East. We probably wouldn't be even funding wars in the Middle East trying to monopolize all the oil. And Russia wouldn't be making so many waves. The reason why gas is so cheap now is because Russia has overtaken Saudi Arabia as the world's leading producer of oil, and the Saudis lower the prices because they want to shut Russia out of the market. See, what's really concerns me is what's going to happen to the environment when the standard of living goes up in China and India, 2 countries with 1 billion people, and they start to consume at the rate as the United States. The US has only about 5 or 10% of the world's population, but consumes 25% of the world's resources. There may come a point in time where there would be forced recycling across the board. It makes me wonder if there's going to be another world war over oil or something much worse, which was discussed by a guy named Stephen Jay Gould, called punctuated equilibrium. That is, when all the resources become scarce, then all the species that rely on them start to go extinct. The population does a nosedive, and then the Earth's life, all the life forms become dormant. That's called punctuated equilibrium, where almost all life forms on the planet are extinct. And it takes eons for the planet to be habitable again. And that being said, if it were up to me, there would be no more landfills, no more cemeteries, and fewer and far between golf courses. If you're wondering what we're supposed to do about all those dead people and all that trash and such, I have a solution for that. For all the garbage, I would have us do what the Japanese do, which is have sanitation workers sort out all the recyclable stuff. That's 90% of it right there, and take that out, recycle it. Some of the other stuff that's compostable and biodegradable, they can compost it, make organic matter out of it or whatever, and the rest of the stuff, which is non-recyclable, non-degradable, or non-compostable, mostly chemicals and whatever, they can incinerate it, or they can create some kind of bacteria and break it down. That's how they clean up oil spills. They don't just go out there and scoop up the oil out of the water. What they do is the biochemists pour some bacteria on there that eats up the oil. I'm sure they can do that with the chemicals too. Where there's a will, there's a way. That's my solution for all the garbage. Now, for all the dead people, the answer to that is simple. Cremation, obviously, is simple enough. Not everybody believes in that. So you can always entomb them in mausoleums. Or what I would do is, instead of having cemeteries, have pine tar boxes buried in the ground. Not even pine tar boxes. Just bury people Muslim style. You can wrap them up in bandages and face them laying on their side, facing towards Mecca. Plant a tree there. All the phosphorus and the nitrogen from the body can replenish the soil, and you can grow a tree there. See, you can have a botanical garden or an arboretum there in lieu of a cemetery. Something more aesthetically pleasing and environmentally sound, no doubt. See, most people don't realize that when you embalm a body, it doesn't stop decomposition and putrefaction. It only slows it down and prevents, it delays rigor mortis. It's still gonna decompose, but embalming fluid is also very toxic to the water supply. You don't have to embalm the people when they die. You can always preserve them in salt or something. I know that's a pretty morbid topic, but it's certainly feasible.